At the end of a long red carpet hallway, I saw a ball of white coming toward me. It turned out to be Princess Diana. She had rolled up her train, held her slippers in one hand and was speeding down the hallway, which was lined with windows and sparkling diamonds from her tiara. It was a beautiful scene full of hope, happiness and love. Fairy tales usually wrap up with, "They lived happily ever after." But Princess Diana was a new kind of loyal, and people started using a new term for her. In the news, it's reported that Diana, Princess of Wales, has agreed to Prince Charles's request for a divorce. In a way, I have helped with this. Sadly, she passed away in a car accident, and messages of sympathy have been coming from leaders all over the world. Princess Diana was the daughter of Lord Spencer and his wife. They lived on the Sandringham estate, and after her grandfather died, they moved to the family home. Although she wasn't royal by birth, she became a She was unfairly called a commoner, even though she often spent time with royalty. She grew up partly at Sandringham, where she was close to the royal family. Her sister dated Prince Charles, so she knew them well and moved in high society. The Spencer family was an old aristocratic family, and Diana was proud of her background, which was actually quite impressive, possibly even more so than that of the royal family. She was the apple of her father's eye, and the bond they shared was undeniable. Her father adored her and she, in return, cherished him deeply. From a young age, she was full of life, dancing through the grand halls, gracefully moving to the rhythm of music, and diving into the swimming pool with sheer joy. She never openly expressed her ambitions, never once mentioned what she truly wanted to become. But there was one fleeting moment, a playful remark at her sister's wedding, that hinted at her dreams. As she watched the ceremony unfold, she casually said, "My wedding will be at Westminster Abbey." She was only about 18 at the time, and no one gave it much thought. We always believed she would end up with Prince Andrew, but fate had different plans for her, plans that would change history forever. It's hard to explain what Princess Diana was like to someone who hasn't met her. I often say she was just as beautiful on the inside as she was on the outside. When she walked into a room, it felt special. She had a way of lighting up the place and drawing everyone's attention. I've never met anyone else with her charm. Over the years, from when I first met her at 18 to the end of her life, she changed a lot. I was there from start to finish, and I can say that at first, she was a shy and innocent girl who didn't know much about the world. When I joined Buckingham Palace in 1976, there were already rumors that Prince Charles would marry someone like Princess Mary or Amanda Nebal. People thought he might marry someone else too, but Lady Diana Spencer was not in the picture at that time. Charles was very popular, being the most eligible bachelor and the heir to the throne. In England, he often had female companions. I sometimes saw him with the Queen at Buckingham Palace, where he had his own suite of rooms and a valet. He was quite independent. This situation helped him gain valuable experience in responsibility and discipline. I believe responsibility is key. It shows that others trust you to handle things, and it makes you feel that they can trust you in return. Prince Charles was under immense pressure to settle down. His advancing age and the Queen's subtle but firm reminders made it clear it was time for him to find a wife, someone who could provide an heir and a spare. The royal family had expectations, and Charles knew he couldn't delay much longer. Then, Lady Diana Spencer entered the picture. The media frenzy surrounding her was relentless, and when asked how she was handling the overwhelming press attention, her response was simple yet revealing. "Well, as you can see," she hesitated, forcing a polite smile. The scrutiny was intense, and though she tried to cope, the weight of the spotlight was undeniable. It was the summer of 1980 when the Queen casually mentioned that a young girl would be visiting for the weekend. "Will you meet her at the front door and show her to her room?" she asked. "Of course, Your Majesty," came the reply. Standing in the grand hallway of Balmoral Castle, the checkerboard tiles beneath his feet, he waited for the car to arrive. When it finally did, out stepped a shy, unknown girl, her presence unassuming, her demeanor reserved. She carried just one small suitcase, far too little for a weekend at Balmoral. "Is that all you've brought with you?" he asked, surprised. Diana simply smiled, unaware that this moment would be the beginning of a life that would forever be entangled with the crown, the press, and a destiny beyond her control. Diana was about to step into a world she knew little about, one bound by centuries-old traditions and unspoken rules. At Balmoral, it wasn't just about meeting the royal family. It was about adapting to their way of life. Hunting, shooting, the Gillies Ball, endless tea parties, luncheons. This was the world she was expected to navigate. "Will it do?" she asked hesitantly. "I think we'd better take you to your room and find out," came the reply. Once inside, she let out a breath, her uncertainty clear. "Will you stay for a while and chat with me?" "I'm completely out of my depth," she admitted. She wasn't just meeting a prince, she was stepping into an institution that would dictate every aspect of her life. The rules were precise, the customs rigid. Tea was served at 4 in the small drawing room, where the queen herself would pour. "I don't like tea," Diana confessed. "I'll make sure she has coffee waiting for you," she was reassured. Then came drinks in the drawing room. Gin and tonic for most, but Diana didn't drink. "I'll make sure there's a glass of water for you." Every moment was orchestrated, every move mattered. To bond with the queen, she would need to play bridge at her table. "Do you play?" "Yes," Diana nodded. "Then sit at the queen's table. That's how you get to know Her Majesty." Afterward, the queen would take her beloved dogs for a walk, a rare moment of informality. "Maybe you could suggest going with her," the advice came. It was a test, an initiation into royal life. But for Diana, it was more than that. It was the beginning of a future she never fully anticipated. It's a good opportunity to get the attention of the queen. This young girl was really interested in the daily life of the royal family. As I closed the door that day, I saw the name on it, Lady Diana Spencer, a kind and great friend. "Did you watch a lot of TV? Did you have any favorite shows?" "Unfortunately, I wanted to teach kids, and they invited me to join. I started by volunteering on afternoons and later took on morning classes, eventually teaching all day. I only worked 3 days a week at the kindergarten, and on the other 2 days, I took care of an American baby boy. This was very special to me. The boy's mother still sends me pictures of him and asks about him in her letters, which I think is wonderful. I really don't know how she finds the time to write. The princess changed a lot from the time I first met her at 18 until I left. I was there for her from the start to the end. At first, she was a shy and naive girl. She changed everything around her to survive. She was put in a tough situation and learned quickly. As for when I realized she was the right one for me, it was slowly over the summer and fall of last year. I started to understand my feelings and hers. It took time to figure it all out. Was being with Lady Diana difficult? I had a lot of time to think about it. I felt the pressure was on both of us, but in the end, it was an easy choice. What I wanted most was her wedding day, which became the most watched event ever. They got married at St. Paul's Cathedral, and the princess was full of hope. She fell in love with her prince, and together they looked like a perfect couple. He had also dated her older sister. On Diana's wedding day, her sister Sarah told her, "I thought all this would be mine one day, but now it's yours." There was competition between the sisters, and the Spencer family didn't expect Diana to become the Princess of Wales, and possibly the future Queen of England. They couldn't imagine she would reach such heights. The brother should have taken control of his estate, not Diana's, which causes some jealousy from the Spencers. Madam, how are you enjoying married life? I highly recommend it. How do you love Balmoral as a place? Have you cooked breakfast yet? Living and working with the Queen was much easier than living with Diana. With the Queen we always knew her schedule. Breakfast at 9, lunch at 1, tea at 5 and dinner at 8:15. Every day at Buckingham Palace feels the same, like Groundhog Day. Buckingham Palace is a big house with more than 200 staff members. There is a complex system of jobs below stairs with titles dating back to the 1600s. You have different roles like footmen, pages and women of the bedchamber, each with their own tasks and responsibilities. At Buckingham Palace, I knew my job well from the start of the day to the end. Everything operates like clockwork and nothing has changed over the years. If Queen Victoria were to visit today, she would notice nothing different. Everything is just as it always has been. Things at Buckingham Palace run smoothly and predictably. However, with Diana, things were more unpredictable. There was no set routine, and anything could happen. But more than anything else, I saw my mother in action, and I knew well what to do. We might skip lunch or go shopping. Every day brought something new and exciting. The two worlds were different for me. With the Queen, I always knew my place. I was careful not to cross boundaries and knew to show respect. I was her servant, but also a friend and someone she could trust. With Princess Diana, it was more relaxed. She would invite me for tea or coffee. Every morning I would wait for her to come out of her dressing room, holding a half grapefruit and a cup of black coffee. I'd bow and say, "Good morning, Your Highness, for goodness sake." She'd say, "When are you going to stop doing that? It's just me and you in the room. Sit down and have a cup of coffee with me. And tell me what's been going on." That was her "Sorry I didn't see you. The L on your way." So the Floral Princess, on the world stage, did everything she should to perfection. But behind closed doors, she was naughty. She was a naughty little girl. She loved to have fun. She loved to giggle. She loved to play practical jokes. At that time, everyone was wishing me good luck and saying how lucky I was to be engaged to such a wonderful woman. I felt fortunate to marry her. We shared many happy moments together. It's surprising how much women can accomplish when you're not paying attention. As for the princess, she brought a fresh and romantic vibe to the royal family at a time when it was struggling. Her presence helped boost the family's popularity. Diana was unlike anyone else. There was a huge excitement about her, almost like a frenzy. People wanted to see Princess Diana so much that they would scream when they caught a glimpse of her, similar to how fans react to rock stars. Diana accepted that she would be one of the most photographed women in the world. Over time, she became more comfortable with the media, even though it felt both heavy and freeing for her, because she discovered her own power in that attention. You can play around with the media, have some fun with photographers and reporters, and use this global attention for good. The princess's fame revitalized the royal family when she came onto the scene. I was at Buckingham Palace waiting for the bride when I saw Princess Diana. She was on the balcony, and then I noticed her coming down a long red-carpeted hallway. She had her wedding dress train tucked under her arm, and her slippers in one hand. The sunlight made her tiara sparkle as she hurried towards me. It was just me and her in a hallway, and she looked like a ship at full sail. She had so much hope, happiness, and love. That day I helped prepare the wedding breakfast in the ballroom for the queen and the bride. The bride didn't eat anything because she said her stomach was in knots from all the excitement. But she told me the best part was walking down the aisle. Paul's Cathedral with my father, she said. But did you ever look at the footage of that? I said. I've seen it many times, she says. Next time you look at it, watch me. Can't you see me looking from side to side? Can you see me doing that? Do you know what I'm doing? I'm looking for her. I'm looking for Camilla. And she was there.